Before I get to this segment of the Tom Leykis Show, let me just point out to you that many times on this show I have warned you, cajoled you, harangued you, and harassed you. I have told you, never, ever take a woman's word for it that you are the father of her child. Never. If a woman contacts you and tells you that you're going to have a baby and the Hail Mary doesn't work, never take her word for it. 100% of the time, demand and get a DNA test. I have also told those of you who believe you have children to do DNA tests on them. You can do that without Mommy having any idea. Although I do understand that at least one state was going to try to make that illegal, that you'd have to get Mommy's consent. So Mommy could continue being a slut and getting away with this. Mommy could refuse to give permission. But as of right now, there is no such law. And so you can just swab that kid's mouth, take it right on down, and get a DNA test done. Why? Why is this so important? Why am I so hell-bent on getting you to do this? Well, stories like this one that over 100 listeners sent me in the past 24 hours. That's substantial. So many of you have heard me talk about this subject, and you remember it. I want to thank all of you who sent it in. I can't name all of you. There were over 100. But here it is. 1 in 25 fathers could unknowingly be raising another man's child, according to British scientists. 1 in 25. 1 in 25. It says here that researchers at Liverpool's John Moores University examined the findings of dozens of studies published over the past 54 years on cases of paternal discrepancy, where a man is proved not to be the biological father of his child. These studies, most of them peer-reviewed, came from countries. Oh, you're listening to this? You want to know all the facts and where we get the statistics from. I'm telling you. These studies were done all around the world. Countries as varied as the United States, Finland, New Zealand, South Africa, and Mexico. The findings of the studies varied dramatically. Some concluded that only 1 man in 100 is not the father of his child, while others put the figure as high as 30%. The Liverpool researchers calculated the median figure at about 4%, suggesting that as many as 1 in 25 men worldwide is not the biological father of a child he believes to be his. Professor Mark Bellis, who was one of the researchers, said the importance lies not so much in the figure itself, but in the implications, given that as a society we are increasingly making our decisions based on genetics. If, for example, someone knows that their father had a history of hereditary heart disease, they might be tempted to alter their own diet, he told Reuters. Obviously, they need to be making that decision on the basis of accurate information about who their father really is. So you see, folks, those of you who say it doesn't matter, or you don't want to know, it matters to the kid. It matters. Forget about whether you want to know. Having accurate medical history is important to the child. If your wife screwed around or your girlfriend screwed around on you and said, tag, you're it, that's not only an affront to you. That is not only hurtful to you. That is also hurtful to the kid. As hard as it may be to find out that you're not the father of your child, How much harder is it going to be if your wife had an affair with somebody whose family has a history of colon cancer or aneurysms, brain tumors, Tay-Sachs disease, sickle cell anemia? Who knows? How hard's that going to be? Huh? Story continues. It says, Bella said that while mix-ups of semen during artificial insemination did account for some cases of paternal discrepancy, the majority were due to a woman having sexual relationships outside of marriage. He said in Britain, 20% of women in marriages or long-term relationships have had affairs, adding that the figures for other developed countries were similar. About a third of pregnancies in Britain are unplanned, increasing the risk of paternal discrepancy. Writing in the British Medical Association's Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health, the scientists called for further research in the area. They said, "We cannot simply ignore this difficult issue." You simply cannot ignore this difficult issue. Today, while you're hearing me speak these words, go to your yellow pages, go to superpages.com or one of these websites where you can look for somebody who does paternity testing and find out if you're the father of those children that you think you're the father of. We've got 3.5 million listeners. I don't know what percentage of those are parents. Many of you have kids. Can you imagine how many guys that would be who will find out they're not the father of their own children? As you know, for a long time on this program, I have been an advocate of mandatory DNA testing for every live birth in America. That will not only assure that the wrong person doesn't pay child support, that will reduce the number of quote-unquote unplanned pregnancies. When a woman can't play tag you're it with parenthood, a lot of women are going to think twice before having children. A lot of births will not occur. And that will be a good thing for society, don't you think?
Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-866. Tom Leykis. 1-800-5800-TOM.
I have nothing but the greatest amount of appreciation, gratitude, and respect for what you're doing here. I really thank you.
The Tom Leykis Show.
It's the Tom Leykis Show. 1-800-5800-TOM. It's Daniel on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
How you doing, Tom?
I'm okay, Daniel.
Oh, man. I just feel like you were talking to me right then.
Do tell.
Sorry, go on.
Do tell.
Well, I got this ex-girlfriend. She, bit of a lunatic, mixed up with drugs and whatnot, and she got pregnant, you know, right around the time I broke up with her. And I had a baby last March. And, you know, she's telling me I'm the dad, but I know she was screwing around on me. And, you know, she refuses to do a paternity test. And it sucks.
Well, did you get an attorney?
No, I haven't yet.
Well,
I was dealing with other family issues. And
well, here's why you have to do it. Is she getting child support from you?
No.
Okay. Don't assume it'll always be that way. Because I think in California you have 2 years to prove you're not the father. And then after that, and it might be 1 year, by the way. Okay?
Okay.
This is why you need to talk to an attorney, because at different states, different amounts of time.
Right.
After that period of time, tag, you're it. And guess what? She just has to lie to you for 2 years or 1 year, whatever it takes. After that, she can come at you for child support, including back child support.
Okay, this is good to know. I wasn't aware of that fact.
Yeah, you can't wait on this. The attorney's going to do most of the hard work.
Right.
So don't say, oh, I don't have time for this. Because
Okay.
I'm telling you, she may not be asking for child support now, but the minute she gets past that threshold where it doesn't matter whether you're the father or not, she could come right at you for the money.
Well, the other issue is, like, say I am the father and I have to pay her child support. I've got serious moral issues with that because she's a drug addict. I feel like, you know, giving her money is going to cause more harm to my potential kids than...
Well, do you want custody of this kid?
If it's mine, yeah. I want her more than... You know, I don't want her to be with a lunatic.
Well, then you need an attorney, pal.
Yeah.
You need one like today. Every day you waste is valuable time.
Any recommendations for me?
I don't recommend individual attorneys on the air, because if I recommend an attorney and you don't like the job he does, you can sue me. Just the way to find an attorney. Have you ever used any other attorneys for anything else?
Nah, never needed to.
All right. Have a doctor you trust or an accountant?
Yeah.
Get a recommendation from one of them.
Okay. Sounds good.
That's how you do it.
All right.
All right?
Cool, Tom. Well, hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate the call. 1-800-5800-TOM is our telephone number. Thomas on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Thomas, how you doing?
I'm okay.
Good, good. I wanted to call in and speak a little earlier about what you had mentioned about having these fathers have their kids tested. I am 37 years old. My oldest child is 15. Youngest is 6. I have 3. I just found out about 3 months ago that 2 of the children are not mine.
How did you find out?
Well, what happened is that my wife had obviously confided in someone that she considered a friend, and had told her that, hey, you know, I've been doing this, what do I need to do, kind of asking her for help. She came to me and told me, hey, you know, this is a story. She didn't feel right not letting me know, seeing as though I could or could not be the father. So she let me know, and I've confronted my wife about it, and we've since then done the DNA testing and found out that 2 of them are not mine.
And how did she react to that?
Well, of course, she broke down, started crying, asking for, you know, forgiveness, this and that and the other. She should have let me know about the partners earlier, blah, 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 blah. You know, I told her, and, you know, really don't want anything to do with that right now. And
well, we can't use those words on the air, both of them, okay? I know you're angry.
Well, yeah.
But we have to bleep them, and it's no pain in the ass.
No problem. I'm just very heated about this.
I understand. And so you don't want anything to do with her anymore?
Well, I mean, obviously I need some time to think about it and figure out what I need to do. I mean, she's been the love of my life, but my youngest child, who is not mine, is 6 years old, and I mean, it's a little bit more recent. It's not something that happened way in the past. I don't know if she's still doing this kind of thing.
Well, and she's been doing it to you for years. I mean, maybe she's the love of your life, but you're not the love of hers for sure.
Exactly, and that's why I'm, you know, now that I found that out, I'm ready to get rid of this sleaze.
Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't blame you if you did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wouldn't blame you if you did. Now, aren't you sorry you didn't go do this on your own?
Yes, definitely. I just wanted to kind of get on the air and tell everyone out there, you know, for real, man. I thought this lady was a stand-up lady that I loved, that was honest, and she wasn't. So I would advise anybody out there that's listening to go get that checked out.
Yeah, get a DNA test really tomorrow. Go do it tomorrow.
Absolutely, no joke. Tom's right.
Thank you, Thomas.
All right, take it easy.
Appreciate the call. 2 out of his 3 kids are not his. Dean's always looking at me through the window, shaking his head with disgust. And I know what he's thinking, too. I know, because he says the same thing every time. How could you ever trust a woman after being around this show? How could you ever? Why would you ever? James on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
How could you ever trust a woman after working at a DNA lab for the last 5 years like I do?
That must be like going into the Maury Povich show 8 hours a day.
Oh, Tom, Maury ain't got nothing on my job.
Really?
Every soap opera...
This sounds like a reality show waiting to happen.
Oh, it'd be like the worst episode of Seinfeld ever. I work at a really small lab, and we do about 400 and maybe 450 DNA paternity tests every month. And I think your stats that you were talking about earlier, the statistics that you read,
1 in 25.
That's about right on the money. I believe that. We get audited once or twice a year by the American Association of Blood Bank, the AABB. They audit you, and they look at your tests and how many come back with exclusions, and it really does hover. It's kind of between 1 and 5 guys and 1 in 6 guys aren't the dad. So think about that. That's just...
Right, but your numbers will be different from the overall numbers.
Right.
Because the people who come to you are suspicious.
Right, they're already suspicious, and the cat is already about halfway out of the bag anyway.
Right.
I just did a DNA test right about 20 minutes ago. I got a 26-year-old kid. His dad's about 50, and his dad couldn't even ask his son to do a test. He didn't want to ruin their relationship. I mean, the kid's 26 now.
Yeah.
And so what does he do? He gets a hold of this kid's drinking straw, sends me the straw. We get DNA from the straw. I get swabs on the potential dad, and guess what? He's not a dad.
You mean the 26-year-old is not his son?
26-year-old guy is not his son. I mean, the guy's 50, 55-year-old guy, and he just had to have a conversation with his wife about this, and she... You know, they always boo-hoo-hoo, and they have a nervous breakdown, and it's like, hey, you know, DNA is black and white. It cuts through all the BS. I think the problem that your listeners are going to have, because I know your target audience are fairly young kids. You know, these guys are in their 18 to 26 range. A lot of these guys can't afford the tests. I mean, we're talking $450, $475 for a DNA test.
Right. Well, first of all, I think if more people had DNA tests, the cost would come down.
It would drop through the basement.
That's why I think DNA testing should be mandatory for every live birth in America.
Amen, brother.
And that's number one. And number two, $450 is a lot of money, but it's not nearly as much as 18 years of child support.
Well, yes. If you're in California, you are so hosed.
Yeah.
You don't even know how hosed you are.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I get a lot of business coming out of California. I see a ton of business coming out of the 702 area code.
Uh-huh.
Sin City, right? Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much DNA testing we do for Vegas?
Do tell.
Oh, holy cow.
Really?
And Florida. Oh. And the way that the family laws are written in California and states like Florida, they're really tough against guys.
Yeah.
If you're a dad or not, that may not mean a whole heck of a lot. Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, DNA or, withstanding or not, but the way that the laws are structured, it's because those states in particular, California and Florida, have a lot of deadbeat dads. And the lawmakers know that. And so the way that the laws are now on the books, oh, Jesus, I would get a DNA test. I don't care if I was married to Mother Teresa.
Yeah. I don't care if it's I don't care if it's $1,000.
Doesn't have to be my lab. I mean, I would plug my lab on the air, but probably not too comfortable with that. But anyway, get one. If you got to borrow money from your mom and dad to do it, do it.
Well, worth it. And so what is it like being in there all day and seeing all these women who are like wagging their finger like they do on Maury?
Well,
wait till you see the test. You'll see. You're the father. You know.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that. Most of our clients, they want a very private test. They don't want to share what they're doing. They're not going to broadcast that they're doing this. They just want to know.
Uh-huh.
And you can do a home DNA test, and you could do swabs on this kid in your living room and then mail it to our lab, $400. It's really private. It's black and white. Yes or no. Forget all the drama. Forget the heartache and all the World War III and the arguments going back and forth with your girlfriend or whatever. This just cuts right through it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Those are most of my calls. Guys that hear a rumor from a friend, from so-and-so, from their sister, from their sister's brother, whatever. Hey, you know what? You may not be the father, and that's all it takes. Just one sentence, just one phrase uttered in their ear, and what do? These guys call me the next day.
Wow.
You know, they go drinking with their buddies, or they go play poker with their buddies, and boom, they call me next.
Wow.
That's all it takes. And a lot of these guys they're just tripping. You know, they really are the father. They're just in denial, right?
Yeah.
But then you get those guys that, my God, I've tested 16 partners on one test.
Really?
16.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. This is my life.
Wow.
45 hours a week, Monday through Friday.
Wow.
So since we're on the topic of paternity, I am politely requesting that, hey, take me out with Squeaky Bed.
Here you go, James.
All right, Tom, thank you.
Sure. It's 1-800-5800-TOM. It's Sherry on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
Good.
Good. Hey, long time, first time.
Thank you.
I totally understand what you're saying, and I agree with a lot of it, although I have a hard time. I don't know how you get all your statistics necessarily.
Well, I just read to you paragraphs and paragraphs of detailed documentation.
Wow.
And, it doesn't matter how much I read, doesn't matter how many educational organizations are involved in doing the research. I read all this material. I spend the first 12 minutes of the hour telling you the details of the survey, and you call up and say, I don't know how you get the information.
No,
I just told you. I just told you that 6 minutes after the hour, 7 minutes after the hour, 8 minutes after the hour, 9 minutes after the hour, 10 minutes after the hour. I was reading it to you.
I know. I listened, too.
All right.
However, what's first thing that came to my mind was like, well, wow, if we should all mandatory have a DNA test, you're just automatically assuming that every woman out there that's having a baby is a slut.
Wrong. You are preventing, you are preventing a certain number of women from being sluts. B, you are preventing women from having bastard children and then saying to a guy like their husband or their boyfriend, tag, you're it.
Well, do you think just having the fact that, okay, there is a test out there, then I'm not going to be messing around, or that's going to keep women from messing around, do you think?
Put it this way. Here's what it's going to keep them from doing. Having babies.
Well, the other thing, too, is I don't know who's going to vote for that legislation. It's going to be super hard to legislate it and make it mandatory. Just
wait, there's a birth certificate for every birth.
Yeah,
there are
DNA test. That's crazy spendy too.
No, but it wouldn't cost nearly as much. By the way, it should be charged to you right there on the hospital bill. You should be charged for it. I don't care what you want. Well, guess what? I don't want to pay for all the bastard children out there.
My husband doesn't want to pay for that either, though.
Well, guess what? I don't want to pay my income taxes. I don't want to pay my property taxes. There's a lot of things I don't want to pay, but I pay them anyway. I pay for Medicare. I pay for Social Security. I pay for lots of things. And if there's less illegitimate children being born, it will save us welfare dollars, which will save you and me both.
What about all the, as far as the DNA testing goes, like all the rape kits that police departments have in their custody that they simply will not process because DNA testing is too expensive. They should be spending money on that.
I don't know how many live births we have in America. If you have 30 million DNA tests a year instead of 500,000, the cost will go down.
Yeah, I guess so.
Everything. It's economies of scale.
The first thing that came to my head is just like when you make that kind of law, you're just saying, oh, every woman's cheating on their man, and that's not the case.
No. We're finding out who is.
Yeah.
And we're finding out who's trying to charge child support to somebody who's not responsible for it. We're catching people who are cheating people.
Maybe it'll catch some men that are cheating as well, because some other men should be paying for children that they're not paying for. Well,
here's the thing. With a DNA test, that you won't necessarily find out who impregnated somebody if it wasn't the father. You won't necessarily find that out, but what you will know for sure is if the person getting the bill for child support is the person who deserves to get the bill for child support.
Yeah.
And ultimately, how many millions of dollars will we save on welfare?
I'm all for that.
Right. And so you will save tax money, ultimately, and you will also save on, let's face it, unwanted children being born. Men who are dragged kicking and screaming into parenthood who don't want to be parents.
Well, maybe you should send a letter to Governor Schwarzenegger.
Well, maybe I should. Thanks for the call.
1-800-5800-TOM.
I just want to announce to all the women out there that there's the image of Jesus on my penis, and I'll be standing out of the parking lot after the show. If you want to come down here and get a look, I'm going to be unzipping my fly, and then I expect you all to get on your knees and pray.
Better watch it, Tom. You're going to have a big old lineup out there tonight.
I know.
The Tom Leykis Show.
From Los Angeles, it's the Tom Leykis Show with a new study that is a compilation of various peer-reviewed studies that says 1 in 25 men might be raising another man's child. April on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. I love your show.
Thank you, April.
You're like the father I never had.
In more ways than one.
I was just calling to say that I'm really upset about these brides these days because, for one, they're giving women a bad name like me that do not want a child, and for two, they should throw away the key, lock them up and throw away the key because, personally, I think that they should be made to pay back the money that when the guy finds out that it's not their child, they should be made to pay the money back. And personally, I just think that it's wrong. And I'm so upset about it because my brother went through the same thing.
Wow.
And it's just wrong. And then I'm tired of paying taxes for welfare and stuff. I have a job, so women out there need to get a good job and work and take care of themselves instead of preying on a man all the time.
Yes, I totally agree with you, of course. It's pretty outrageous.
And the last woman that called, I see why she's a long-term listener and a first-time caller because everything she was saying didn't make any sense. So all the brides out there that are saying we shouldn't have DNA tests, women cheat and they're more conniving than men anyway, and they think that they're just Miss Goody Two-Shoes. So I think every man should get a DNA test after the fact a woman says she's pregnant.
Unbelievable, April. Thank you. Emilio on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
I'm okay.
That's good. Question. I'm considering donating my sperm at a fertility clinic. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Are you a new listener?
No, I'm not.
I've talked about this.
Have you?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't recall that. I don't recall. What are your thoughts on that?
Don't do it.
Why not? I thought because they're telling me it's completely anonymous. There's no legal way that the child.
But it's not true.
It's not true at all?
No, as a matter of fact, a number of children born as a result of in vitro fertilization have been demanding to know who their fathers are, and they've been suing sperm banks for this information. And sperm banks are starting to crack.
Really?
And you know what the next step will be after these children get to find out who their daddies are?
Yeah.
They're going to drive a truck through, and they're going to start demanding child support from you.
Nice. Not good.
No. So what are they paying you for this?
They're paying $65 a shot.
That's great. The $65 will pale in comparison to if the sperm bank is lying to you.
Really?
Or if they say one thing, but it's really something else.
Do you have any websites you can kind of throw down to me, or if I just search the internet, do you think I'll find something about this?
Well, it's been a big news story. You can probably Google this story. Okay. But take it from me, if you're a listener and you believe me, trust me when I tell you that this is now happening, that people have sued sperm banks to find out who their parents are.
I'm just looking to find a little bit of extra money.
I know why you're doing it. But I've been telling people don't do this for a while now. Yeah. Do not ever donate sperm under any circumstances anymore, ever. And not just you. I'm telling this to everybody. Don't do it.
Okay.
Because at some point, the lid is going to be off, and they're going to be coming after you.
Yeah.
How will you feel that you've got, 16 children who all show up at your front door someday?
And they tell me they reuse it up to 10 times in the area, in the county, and then they just ship it off to a different county and do the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
well,
could have potentially hundreds of kids out there.
That's right.
Yeah. So.
And they could all be wanting money from you. Or they could all be wanting to get to know you. Do you want that?
All right. Well, thanks for the advice, Tom.
I'm here to help. He never answered the question, by the way. 1-800-5800-TOM. John on the Tom Leykis Show. Hello.
Hi, Tom. I'm a 40-year-old male from Seattle, Washington.
Uh-huh.
And 12 years ago, I had a child with a woman. We wound up getting married. And then 6 years later, we have another one. Things were a little rocky. I sort of suspected she was screwing around. Had a DNA test done on both children. Both of them are not mine, but because in the state of Washington, the way the law is written, if you're married, you're responsible. I'm paying child support for both of them.
Mm-hmm. And how did your wife react when you found this out?
Oh, it was the boo-hoo story, she didn't mean to lead me on, but basically what I found out was she was screwing this guy the whole time we were married, and I'm not even sure if he's the father. And that's about the time I started listening to your show, and it turned my life around, man. It saved me, literally, because I was going to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
But I was listening to your show while I was waiting for her to come home, and I just thought, hell, this ain't worth it. And I drove off and never looked back. But the only way we can change this legislation is we got to do it now while the Christians are in there hot and heavy, because there's sort of an angle as far as, like, the gays now adopting kids. They want their names on the birth certificate. And if we get some sort of legislation passed where it's only the biological parents are listed on a birth certificate, then you would get mandatory DNA testing probably going that way through that angle of some sort. I'm not a legal expert or anything, but that was just an idea to throw out there.
Yeah, I don't think a name should be on a birth certificate unless that name has been the beneficiary of a DNA test.
Absolutely right.
No DNA test, no name on the birth certificate, because it's fantasy. It's somebody guessing at the answer or making up an answer when asked who is the father.
That's right. That's what we need to do. We need to band together like a band of brothers and run that in there.
By the way, have you been paying child support for these two kids that aren't yours?
Oh, yeah.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, I'm still paying. I'm going to be paying until I'm almost retired.
Wow. How much do you pay?
I pay $500 every month, plus I pay 100% of their medical.
No.
And like that.
So what does that add up to in a year?
6,000.
It's 6,000 plus.
Yeah. Well, the son has had some medical problems, so it's been right around $24,000.
$24,000 a year?
Yeah.
I mean, every year?
Well, the last 2 years, and then this year he's been doing pretty good, so it's lowered down.
Yeah, well, if only the kid knew who his dad was, he might know his medical history.
Yeah, just exactly that.
$24,000. Boys, I hope you're listening to this.
Yeah, and what you say on the radio is so important, man. It's like the difference of night and day. If I would have listened to this 12 years ago, I wouldn't have had this problem. I was dating this gal, wound up getting her pregnant, and then it was like a shotgun wedding with her parents and grandparents.
Yeah.
So, I was just a nice guy trying to do the right thing, right?
While the bad guy, he got with her, knocked her up, got off the hook for child support.
Yep.
He doesn't pay a penny.
Nope.
By the way, does he know he has kids, this guy?
I don't know. Actually, the guy that she was messing around with while we were married, I don't even know if he's the father. So God only knows.
Yeah, but even the kid you had before you got married was not yours, right?
Right.
So she was messing around with somebody before you got married, even.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's review. She was having sex with you and at least one other guy. When she got pregnant, she said, "Tag, you're it."
That's right. It was because my income was higher. Yep, that's exactly right. And that people need to wake up out there. Guys need to wake up out there and realize that, you need to get your head screwed on straight, start thinking about your net worth, increasing your net worth, but also protecting yourself because, like even now, dating, it's the same old thing. I run into women, they think you got a little bit of money and they want you to take care of them and that sort of thing, but I just don't fall for it. That's about the time they start saying I need to take care of them is about the time I say, see you later.
Absolutely. Send us an email. Our email address is my name. It's Tom@blowmeuptom.com. Tom@blowmeuptom.com. Or you can send us a text message to 89866. That spells TX-TOM. Send your text message right now to 89866.
The Tom Leykis Show.